Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ful-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today for our Burnley preview is Drew. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. Ash, good to see you and our regular viewers.
Obviously, we're here to talk about Burnley. There's a couple of things we have to talk about around the game, not just the game. We see Fulham play away against Burnley. Fair to say, our hoodoo ground. I've never seen Fulham get even a point at Turf Moor. I don't know about you, Drew. If you've ever seen anything, even a positive result there. We haven't
No,
won 1 year away against Burnley. Uh, a run which I doubt any other football team in the world has. It's ridiculous how long it's been since we won at Turf Moor. Going into the game this weekend, we see Fulham come up against our ex-manager and Scott Parker. I don't need to say what I feel about Scott Parker. I think everyone knows. Uh, and we see Marco Silva probably having to deal with a game of football during a really difficult time uh, behind the scenes at Fulham at the moment. Drew, we were all really frustrated by the lineup and the subs and everything that happened during the game against Palace on the weekend. Going into this one with Burnley a couple of players down through suspension, what do you think Fulham need to change in order to be up for this game? Because we know they'll be fighting for this one.
what do they need to change? Well, I mean, with our forward options so seriously depleted, he's going to go with Raul. Not sure he's got much option there. We're missing our top two left backs, so he's because we haven't lost the Batty and Co yet, have we?
No, to go after the game.
Go after the game. So I mean, it is open to him to either start Bassi at left back and then bring in Cuenca, or he'll go with Tim again. I mean, what do we need to change? I mean, the lineup against Palace wasn't bad. It was just Silva's changes around the 65th minute, which torpedoed us. I mean, I would be tempted. I'd be tempted to just go out there and just try and neutralise Burnley and pray that they don't score. I say that simply because they're just a jinx to us. I mean, you've already mentioned it, Ash, but even in Tagana's all-conquering season when he got us promoted, we managed to go up there and blow a 1-0 lead, and that team was absolutely stacked with more attacking talent than we've got now. So I, I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to physically match them though, because they will have quite a raucous support behind them.
Yeah, the Burnley crowd are always really impressive in terms of the way they get behind their team. It's never a shock with that one. Some good news for Fulham this weekend, obviously, is Burnley are without three players through suspension, with Kyle Walker picking up his fifth yellow card, uh, and so did Perez. So they're both suspended for the game. And it looks like Hannibal's missing through a ban because of an incident in a previous game. Three players, which probably, when we talk about players to watch, would probably be on that list. They're part of what makes Burnley tick. But going into this one, Scott Parker will have a few tricks up his sleeve. We've always seen that when he comes and plays against Fulham, whether that was at Bournemouth, or in the time he's been away from Fulham, he always seems to have something that catches us off guard. Marco's probably going to have to live up to that nickname of being a genius this weekend to get something from this game. We spoke about Marco quite a lot at the end of last week's episode, mainly about his contract situation and some of the ways that he speaks during press conferences. Drew, the 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 quotes from today's press conference, especially the ones from Jack Kelly, are a little bit concerning, if you ask me. I don't know how you feel about it, but to make a comment about Jonah not being well enough to play last week and then not being training this week, and then to talk about managing minutes for Raul, a player who is running into the ground, a bit contradictory, a bit annoying. how do you feel about the whole situation with him at the moment? Because it just feels like there's been a bit of a loggerheads between Marco and the club, but also between Marco and the fans and the way that he's giving over information. It feels a bit critical.
I mean, it's already been spotted by quite a few of the Fulham faithful on Twitter, or X, sorry, that what Marco's saying in press conferences is not matching up with what he's doing on Saturdays. I talk specifically about our striking situation. I don't want to regurgitate what has been said about the Palace game. Everyone knows from about 55, 60 minutes onwards, Raul basically couldn't move. Jonah was on the bench, clearly fit enough to be on the bench, but Marco decided that Raul, who couldn't run, was a better option up front than Jonah. I cannot help but feel that Silva's got to the point now where he's making decisions based on emotion, and it's just an act of defiance. It doesn't. There's no rational explanation otherwise. He's never rated Jonah. There's no suggestion that he wanted Jonah. He spent the first part of the season basically telling anyone that would listen that Jonah wasn't ready, despite the fact that Bayern thought he was worth spending 4 million on. And then the first time we see him against opposition, it happens to be Man City, and universally everyone thought he didn't look out of place. Yet now, he can't get on the field when Raul is clearly injured. I expect Raul to start on Saturday. I expect him to play the full 90, quite frankly. I just get the impression that my whole thing with Silva now is, I said at the beginning of the season I thought it was his last season. I think Silva had decided before a ball was kicked this season that this season was going to be his last season, and it reminds me very much of when you've resigned from a job, and you're working your notice period. That's how I feel it is with Silva now. He's never going to admit that, but there's just no rational explanation for some of the decisions he's making. I mean, he's come out and said, I mean, a lot of fans, as you know, and to be fair to Jack Kelly, full credit to him, he put it to him about the Berge Lukic pivot. I know you've made quite a lot of comment on that, Ash. And he turns around and says, well, I base the team selection on what I see during the week. And as quite a few fans have pointed out, I won't name them, but they know who they are. It would be nice if he based it on what he was seeing on Saturdays, because it all seems to be at the moment that he's either acting out of sheer defiance, sheer pride, or trying to prove a point. But his decisions seem to be based on emotion rather than logic. So I hope I'm wrong, but as I said on our last show, our points per game average has dropped from 1.5 from the first 20 games of 2024-25, and it's now hovering around 1.13, I think it is. You better hope there are 3 worse teams than us.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of concerning things around the football club at the moment, especially off the field. You know, the weird thing with Marco Silva is we all love Marco Silva. There's no hatred towards Fulham fans of Marco Silva. There's no wanting to catch him out in what he's saying. There seems to be a real disparity between what is coming out of his mouth and what we're seeing on the pitch every single week, and it's starting to get slightly frustrating. For me, the comment about managing Rail's minutes today seems odd, because the only thing he's actually managing so far is make sure he's playing 9 minutes every single week and running him into the ground, and it's a bit frustrating to see. I personally, not anybody against Palace, was more of a nod to the board to say, this is all I've got. Like, you've not given me anything, and now I can't do anything. So we're seeing at this game and hoping to get a draw, and sort of backfired and we lost. And we've seen managers do that in the past, and it never ever works out well. Ultimately, that's the most important thing, is what's best for the football club, not what's best for not what's best for Marco Silva, his reputation or whatever. We need to think about the club going forward, and frankly, not bringing on a player who's fit enough to be in your squad, but you're saying is now not wasn't fit enough to play, but letting, a 34-year-old run round like he's had one of his legs shot off for 35 minutes, and then coming out during the week and saying that we need to protect him makes no sense because you're not protecting that player. You're doing the complete opposite of protecting that player. You're setting that player up to injure themselves. And that if he injures himself, we're in even worse dire straits than, potentially him not playing for 20 minutes of a game because he's being dropped. And you have to look at the way that is and be frustrated, I think. Let's look at some positives though around the squad. Some conundrums that we're gonna have that are actually quite good to have. ESR and Josh King. I thought ESR the last couple of games has been exceptional. I think he's played really, really well. Coming on at Tottenham, I thought he ran really hard. I thought he was really good last week, in both our games actually, in the City game and in the Palace game. Bit frustrated that he came off when he did against Palace. I thought he was really starting to enjoy himself in the squad. Um, I think ESR has probably played himself in favour of probably starting this game on Saturday, which is obviously a good thing. It's good to have two players that are really, you know, competing for a spot, and we're having this conversation about playing which one over which one because of how well they're playing, rather than because one's having a bad period, so we have to bring the other one in. If it was you on Saturday, what would you do? Would you bring Josh in, or knowing the type of game we're likely to face against Burnley, would you keep ESR starting this one?
I'll keep ESR. He's done nothing. He's done nothing wrong. I mean, him going off on Sunday was the best substitution Crystal Palace could have had. He's playing well. He seems to be confident. He seems to be fit. I don't see why you would take him out. It's the rest of the midfield that you gotta worry about. And what you're going to do on the wings. I don't think you can drop Wilson. I think he's been excellent. Chukwueze has been our one bright spark. Well, no, that's not fair on Harry because Harry's been great as well. Um, Still cannot work out what the game plan was on Sunday when he was facing 37-year-old Nathaniel Klein. Why he just didn't run at him, but I guess that was a tactical decision made by Silva. I think pretty much the front picks itself in terms of ESR, Wilson and Chuck and Raul, and then it's behind them, isn't it? I mean, I'm assuming he'll start either Berge or Lukic. He may, because we're away and we need to stop the right. He may decide that he wants to start both and go back to his beloved double pivot. I can't see him changing much else because I don't care what Silva says. He just doesn't rotate, and he's one of the most conservative managers, I think, going. So I expect very much it's going to be as you were. The only difference will be he brings in Lukic, and it's either Chuck or Iwobi that will be dropped. Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. We know that after this game we lose Chukwueze, we lose uh, we lose Iwobi, and we lose Bassey. So we need to be in a position of feeding players in that are going to replace them. If all three of those start the game on Saturday, I won't be too annoyed if all three of them don't finish the game on Saturday. We've got to feed some. I'm not against Cuenca playing instead of Bassi on Saturday. Maybe Bassi out to left back position for the one game. I don't know. We know that Robertson's back training, but it's probably going to be too soon for him. For me, Iwobi's going to play no matter what. He'll either be on the left wing or be in the middle. And I think if he does play, it will be on the left at expense of Chuck, with the double pivot coming in because Marco's going to know how important winning that midfield battle is going to be on Saturday. This Burnley team they're not easy to play, but they can crumble at times. Ultimately, I think it's going to be an interesting one with the guys going off to with Afcon and what we do with that. Personally, I don't know what's best, if giving him or letting players who are gonna be replacing him over the next couple of weeks get some minutes in. But we will see ultimately what Marco decides to do, and we'll go from there. Drew, before we get on to some other things, let's end this one. I always do look at some players to watch and give a scoreline prediction. Can I please have a player to watch for both teams and a scoreline prediction, please?
Right. I'm going to pick Broja for Burnley because he played for us. He hasn't had a great season. Burnley have lost 6 straight, so he's going to score the winner. I mean, it's just written in the stars, isn't it? For us, I'm hoping that ESR can continue his rich vein of form because he's been excellent. So yeah, I'll pick ESR for us. Oh, I so want to say that we're not going to lose. I'm going to go for a 1-1, but I mean, my backup is a 1-0 Burnley win.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. For me, Burnley, Josh Cullen's probably the player to watch. I've been impressed with him every time I've seen him play. I think he's a tidy little player. And he'll be hard to sort of keep quiet during the game. For us, it's gonna be Raul Jimenez because I think whoever's playing up front is really gonna have to deal with with uh, with that. I think we'll see how that goes. Um, Scoreline wise, part of me wants to think we'll get one over Scott Parker, so I'd love to say we'd win it 2-1. But considering us lose, and they've managed to score goals without having a shot on target, I'm not too confident with that. So I'm gonna go 2-1 Fulham. And yeah, so we'll see what happens in this one. I think that it's going to be a tight game or what, but it would be nice to see Fulham finally put to bed this hoodoo of not being able to get anything at Turf Moor. But I don't have any inkling that we'll turn it around because I've seen us lose it way too many times. Um, so we'll see what we can get come Saturday. Why is it? Obviously, we'll see what happens during the game on Saturday, and we'll go from there. Drew, there is one more thing we need to do tonight. We obviously set out that when we get 200 subscribers, we'll be drawing out a winner of a T-shirt. I am going to do that draw now on the show. Just anyone who's entered, if you don't have a registered YouTube channel or a registered YouTube user, even though you can subscribe to us, I can't pull your name off of the list. So I've got a list of people who I'm about to bring up, and everyone in this draw is named, and I could grab their name off of the thing. So we're registered on YouTube in order for that to work. We will be holding another one of these when we reach 500 subscribers to win a bundle from the store. So I'm just going to draw a random name, and that person will win a T-shirt of their choice from our website. So I'm just going to press this to start any second now.
Tension is killing me.
The Harmony Healing Foundation, who follow us, they will be the winner of this T-shirt. I will send them a message now, obviously, to let them know they've won. If you are the member whose name is down as Harmony Healing, feel free to get in contact with us, and we will get you a T-shirt sent over from our store. Drew, thanks very much for joining me on this one. We will see you and hopefully a couple of others on Monday when we come to review the game on Saturday. Hopefully, for the first time in my lifetime, first time in Drew's lifetime, and probably the first time in half of the fan base's lifetime, we can get a result at Turf Moor. Have a good weekend. Come on, you